already with a Duke. What do your grades have to be like, and what do you have to do to be a freshman and already be committed to a school like Duke academically? But anyway, on the mound, a very talented young man. We saw him a couple weeks ago at the 15U Southeast Memorial Day Classic. Was 85-87 on the fastball, mid-70s breaking ball, 81 change. Made the all-tournament team, pitching for five-star National Dobbs, striking out 5 in 3 innings of work.
Britt Dobbs is his travel coach. Tom Stanton, his high school coach. His dad was a swimmer at the University of Florida. He loves to surf, so I'm sure he gets some pitching benefit and cardio from some of the work he does, whether it's in the ocean or in the pool, and he's ready to work here in the third inning.
Yeah, from Ponte Verde Beach, Florida. Anytime your city has a beach in the name, surfing might be involved in your
Might not be a bad idea. Here's Seth Christie. Christie's going to swing at the first pitch and roll one to short, and the play will be made. Nice scoop over there at first base. So Christie didn't waste much time trying to put that ball in play and was retired quickly. I think this is Dylan Cupp at short. Is that right? We'll see here if that is Cupp. You can almost tell by the body frame, and a pretty big pick at first.
Yes, Dylan Cupp, the shortstop. Zach Wattis at first base. Yeah, Dylan Cupp is quickly becoming one of my favorite players, because that's just smooth athleticism there. He looks so natural and calm during the workouts yesterday. He has so much athleticism, ranked 22nd in the 23 class right now.
I would agree. And here is David Miza. Appreciate him phonetically spelling out his name on his questionnaire. A couple of lefties going to battle here in the third inning. And Hogue says he tries to have the same mechanics with all of his pitches, the same release, and he's really spent a little bit of time working on that, and claims his best pitch is a two-seam that runs away to righties. Been working this spring to add a split change to the mix and doesn't throw his circle anymore. His split change looks like a fastball. It has velo like a fastball, but he says when it's working, it really drops. Maybe no surprise as a lefty, his favorite pitcher, his favorite player is Clayton Kershaw.
Good place to start for a lefty. Hogue's been 85 with every fastball so far. 74 on the breaking ball. I can't say that's an arm action that makes me think split finger, however. Have an extended three-quarter slot. He's
facing Miza from LaSalle College Preparatory. Sierra Madre.
I believe we just had that that early first inning walk that we talked about earlier.
That's right. Dad played some college baseball. His mom was a softball player. There's some of that run right over the outside corner and called strike 3 to Miza. So quick ground out and a strikeout from Hogue.
Who's our catcher back there, Brett?
You ask, and I'm going to tell you as long as you give me just enough time to.
Oh,
I think it's David McCann. Is that correct?
That is a very good chance of being David McCann. I asked because he did a nice job receiving that outside corner fastball.
Cooper Smith, the hitter. Our prospect, Kentucky native, Cooper Smith. We saw these young men yesterday running their 60s and throwing from the outfield to the infield, or even our first baseman and our catchers. So been introduced to them, but able to watch them over a course of a couple of 10-inning games now going forward. Canes American 16U, the travel team for Cooper Smith, and that was a bit of a jackknife from Hogue on the mound. Hopefully he's okay. We just saw him spilling across the pitcher's mound, going down
May have got
after
it
delivering.
a little extended with his landing leg and just slipped off. But he's right back up, no hesitation. So that's good to see.
Cooper Smith able to serve one on the ground. This will be a play at third base, and it will end the inning. David, that was a relatively quick third inning from Hogue with a couple of soft ground outs and a strikeout.
Yeah, I like to see, and just the perspective there. You know, we have a 6'3", 175-pound, 15-year-old on the mound there, so there's so much growth ahead of him. Up to 87 with the fastball. Sweeping breaking ball. I like the fact that he's already cognizant of being consistent with his release point, because that's something that is so important as you work up in baseball level by level, is that consistency of your release point, because if you're not consistent, you're basically tipping your pitches.
We've completed 3 innings with our Royal team leading the Red team by a score of 3-2. Those 3 runs for the Royal squad came in the second. We saw Manley in the third inning. He was able to get 3 strikeouts and work into some deep counts to do so, but I would imagine he's ready to soldier back out there and pitch in this fourth to give us his second inning on the day. This is the 2021 Perfect Game Junior National Showcase from the historic East Cobb Baseball Facility in Marietta, Georgia. And there is Manley going back out for the fourth inning. David, what do you want to see out of him here in the fourth, and coming back out for a second inning?
Calmness.
Okay.
Early count strikes, but more just a sense of calmness from him. Don't worry about that first inning in terms of the walks. And that, just come out, approach the game calmly, try to get that first pitch fastball over. Don't try to overthrow. You've already made your mark with your velocity. Let's make your mark now with your strikes.
Well, that's exactly where I was hoping you were going to go with that question. We've seen the skills, the velocity, and now maybe just refine it a little bit. If he had any adrenaline or excitement, to calm down and go back out there and see what he can do here working in the fourth inning. Young man is a Trevor Bauer fan, a St. Louis Cardinal fan, but also, we mentioned before, a 4.0 student and a young man who volunteers with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes and the spiritual formation team at his high school. So he's well involved in a lot of activities outside the game of baseball, but right now anxious to see him working in his second inning. Landon Marudis is going to lead off. Seen Landon at his shortstop making a play already. The NC State commit, just outside the top 125 players in his class. There's that pitch riding into right-handed batters. It locked up Marudis. It's tough when you start your swing on that pitch, just to maybe get out of the way, let alone try and make contact. Seen velos of 88, 89 early here in the fourth inning from Manley.
And of course, the challenge here is to learn how, you're going to get that big riding life naturally. Now let's see if we can, let's aim for the outside corner, or maybe a little outside the outside corner, and maybe let that run back into the plate, sort of throw the backdoor fastball.
Yeah, I think it would be fun to see him do just that, or try to do that, attempt it. See if that natural run might really be able to benefit him. If you put that pitch off that outside corner and it runs back over, those hitters will have no chance to make contact on something like that, starting that far away from them.
But that's a step probably well down the road, as we see our first ghost runner.
He was on a sprint.
Ghost across the field. I talked to Danny about that. It's a ghost runner, but I see him running across the screen all the time.
He was quick, though. He was trying to get out of your sight line. Fouled back by Marudis, still the leadoff hitter here in the fourth inning, despite our free runner over at first base. I think the one thing about some of these ghost runners, opportunity runners, it does give these infielders a chance just for a different dynamic, holding runners at first, maybe a potential force at second, trying to steal for the catchers. Otherwise, there might be some innings where if you left those hitters up there but didn't put a runner on at first, you might have, a handful of strikeouts without much activity going on behind them.
And that's what happens, actually, Brett, at regional showcases, we don't put the runner on. We have bigger rosters here, and more importantly, we have more staff that keeps the communication going in the dugout and such. But at regional showcases, we don't put in the ghost runner, and so you get that situation where you might have 2 or 3 walks straight, but you don't have any action in the field.
Correct.
And good point you raised there. There's that fastball that had might have had a little bit of glove side run to it. Not by intent, I think, but it's just something as Matt Manley, that had some run back in backdoor fastball.
And, David, that's a pitch for those right-handed batters. It's hard to pull the trigger. If you can even be remotely consistent in getting some run over that outside corner, it's going to lock up some of these guys.
Well, there's one of the best pitchers ever featured that as kind of his lead pitch, and Greg Maddux.
Indeed.
Who was just phenomenal at controlling the movement on his pitches.
David McCann steps in. Seen him behind the plate. He stolen base down at second.
I've timed Manley twice on his release time, getting the ball to the plate, and he's been 158 on both of them. And you don't give a catcher much time if you're 158 from your first movement to when the catcher receives the ball. So, as you suspected earlier with these ghost runners, yes, they're being aggressive, but with the pitchers not paying attention, being long to the plate, that's not giving the catcher so far in this game much of an opportunity.
No, I would agree, and it was Kupp, the ghost runner, in the only sense, as a catcher, you're competitive too. You don't want to see guys running at will against you, but you need a little bit of help, and obviously the pitcher is focused on making his pitches, executing. You want that challenge of maybe throwing somebody out if he doesn't get the great jump, but that's a problem for another day, as McCann has a count of 1-2.
A note on that last pitch, that was by far Manley's best breaking ball. That last one wasn't, but the one before that was 74 miles an hour. It had a little bit of hair on it. He got over it and maintained his arm speed. That one, he got the elbow down again and cast it a bit, but he just flashed that hard 74 breaking ball, and that's what he wants that breaking ball to look like.
I'm going to give credit to Max Koffer for throwing out Kupp. He had a big looping curveball, was able to corral it, throw to third, and still get Kupp at third base trying to steal. And then McCann goes down on strikes. So David Manley fought it a little bit in his second inning, and even though he had a few pitches out of the zone, he was able to harness it at times to make pitches to get his Ks.
Yeah, he flashed what he was capable of doing there. I think we only had 2 hitters.
That was only 2 batters. We had 3 outs but 2 batters, so we're going to face a third. I was a little curious on that too, but they sold me by running off the field.
Well, this is their first game. They got to get comfortable with the rules.
Someone's saying, "Hey, there's 3 outs," but there's only been 2 batters. That's the problem with that. I think that gives an opportunity for Reeder. Reeder might have been the one guy on deck saying, "Hey, wait a minute, I'm batting this inning."
Well, he might want to bat. He might want to say, "Hey, this guy's throwing 90. I want to take my chances with the next guy."
It's possible, right?
Okay, I hate to warn you, but the next guy throws 92. I've already looked it up.
That's my thought process. You might as well, when you've been watching this guy for 15, 20 pitches, go up there and take your cracks rather than starting an inning. Troy Reeder took this last pitch, snapped in there. That's a pitch to hit for Reeder, but it'll be softly popped up to second, and that will be the 4th out through 3 batters. So that will indeed end the inning for Manley. He was able to finish strong and put up some pretty impressive numbers for this young right-hander.
And the most important thing he did in that second game is he flashed everything. He threw the backdoor fastball, used that movement. He threw the harder curveball, and he really threw more strikes and was more consistent. So he did what we wanted to see in the second inning. But again, the summary of Matt Manley on the mound was he's a different guy than he was a month ago. Throwing 88, 91 now instead of 82, 84. That's huge.
How much does that excite you scouts who have had the track record of not just seeing a guy for the first time today, but following them and just seeing those dramatic jumps? Obviously, a lot of hard work, maybe kind of growing into the body, all played into that.
Well, I'd like to know, if there was something that happened, whether it's mechanically, whether it's workout related, or it's just physical maturation. And it's obviously not unprecedented. You've had kids, you've seen them grow seemingly 3 inches overnight and stuff, that you change so quickly at that age. And something's happened to Matt Manley physically, that he's gone from, his baseball life in essence just changed. In from when we saw him last to when we saw now, his baseball life has changed.
It has, and for the better, and that's really part of what excites a lot of people about these events, the Junior National Showcase here in Marietta at East Cobb. And Matt Hoch's going to go back out there. He had a very quick third inning, a couple of soft ground outs and a strikeout. He was a young man that during the shutdown last year, during the pandemic, did a lot of long toss, a lot of agility training, able to lift a lot of weights. And, David, I think that is going to be part of the storyline for these young players. For some that weren't able to play much, whether it was a lack of tournaments in the summer or a high school campaign, you wonder if there's a few of the baseball skills per se that might be a little bit behind where they would have been with more games. But if they were able to generate some additional weight or strength by working out long tossing during a time where normally they would be playing, and I guess for each player it'll be a little bit different, but we're going to find out for a few, what they were able to take away as a positive from somewhat of a lost season or year.
Yeah, I think a lot of that, Brett, depends on what part of the country a player's from, and,
no doubt.
And within that, what his own family personal structure was. Because has been first pitch ground ball.
Max Koffer with a chopper to short. He is retired quickly, so that's another quick ground ball out from Hogue.
Better pay attention to Hogue. He may not be out here too much longer.
I think you're right.
I think Matt Hogue's going to have a whole lot of quick innings during his baseball career, to tell you the truth. I'm very impressed with the young left-hander, still 15 years, 9 months old, already with a profile pitcher's body, 6'3", 175. Has an idea on his mechanics. It's been up to 87, can spin the ball a bit. That's throwing strikes.
Here's the man they call AP, Aiden Paradine from Bayonne, New Jersey. Part of the South Charlotte Panthers and Real Ballers travel teams.
Get back to the opportunity question with the pandemic, Brett. We saw players here, depending on here in Georgia, in Florida, Alabama, that had access to our events and our tournaments during the summer, who played 60, 70 games last summer and fall. If you lived maybe in the West Coast, however, you were just looking for a field to work out at and a play and people to work out at. Literally finding a field that you could go use was a huge problem.
Yeah.
And I think parts of the Northeast, it was the same thing. So it's really dependent on where you happen to live, and if you lived in a part of the country that didn't have organized baseball, that had things shut down, that's where you had to depend on friends, family, try to create some way yourself through your own self-initiative to improve yourself.
No, I think that there's a very valid point in all of that. I watched the class of 2020 incoming as freshmen around the country, and spoken to a lot of college coaches that felt like they got to the end of this season and they were completely gassed because they just didn't have that benefit of a full season last year in the high school ranks. And there is a ground ball in the hole that Aiden Paradine is going to beat out for an infield hit. And then sometimes those coaches would volunteer to me, and they're like, there was a skill loss last year, too, by not playing for those guys that would have been seniors entering the college ranks this season, competing with deeper rosters than they've ever had. But we got to see some of the speed from Paradine. He was smelling a hit, got down the line to reach base.
Yeah, and Dylan Cupp almost made that play deep in shallow left field, almost got him. And remember, Paradine is a catcher. He wasn't running a 4-3 down to first base there, I'm pretty sure, and Cupp made a play of it.
Here's Tate Picott, one of our brothers from Rochester Hills, Michigan. So that's the first time Hogue has had to contend with the runner. And that ball hit rather well into left center field, and it's going to get down and go off the fence. Butler's going to chase. We're going to have runners at second and third. That was an interesting pitch again, David. Hogue went down a full slip, and then the ball's hitting the gap, and we've got bodies everywhere.
Yeah, I think Hogue blew out a tire again. I think that definitely impacted the pitch. I mean, obviously he wasn't going through his mechanics and everything. Wasn't spotting. Let's see where this ball ends up. That doesn't even look like his foot slipped. This looks like his leg collapsed. You know, he's not limping going to back up the plate or anything, but it didn't look like a slip. It looked like just a front leg gave out.
He was
Strange.
in position to field a comebacker if he had to, but the ball was clubbed by Tate Picotte, and there's Dominic Scalise batting with a couple of runners in scoring position. Hogue split the plate, but below the knees to the right-handed hitter.
And it's kind of hard to tell from this camera angle, but it looks like he is throwing what I call cross body out front. He's not landing in direct line with home plate and throwing around his core, so to speak. But when you're throwing close like that, you can have your ankle roll depending on how that front foot is landing. And if we were like getting the view from behind home plate, we'd get a better angle on that. But it might be something to do with that landing closed out front.
It's not quite that Chris Sale snap, but it's of that ilk maybe, the way he's throwing across his body.
Yeah, and even on that pitch, he got off balance on that pitch. And that's going to be something. He obviously works on his mechanics. He has that kind of spatial understanding and young intelligence on that. And that's might be something, if he watches this game or watches films of himself, he thinks about in terms of he wants consistency. He already appreciates it. That might be the next step in his delivery development, is getting that consistency with that front landing leg and his balance out front.
His last few fastballs to Scalise have been at 86. See, the runners have occupied all the bases now with our ghost runner after the infield single with one out by Paradine. Tate Picotte had the double to left center. Scalise remains in the box. He is the fourth hitter here in the fourth inning for the Royal team. And Hogue was pretty effortless through his first 5 or 6 batters, laboring now, trying to retire Scalise, get an out. Good pitch there and gets the wave and a miss. So our count through multiple pitches is considered full at 3-2. See if he can repeat that again, David. He got the swing and a miss. Been fighting it just a bit. Similar location. This time, Scalise was able to foul it back and spoil it.
There certainly is no variance in the velocity. Go through the last 8 fastballs: 85, 85, 85, 86, 86, 85, 86, 87. So there's certainly consistency with the arm speed and the velocity. And take a step back. He's 85, 87 in his second inning of work. 15 years old. Tried to snap a breaking ball in there.
Scalise was curious whether he was going to be rung up. He turned and glanced to our plate umpire, who said, "You're still in there." It does feel like Hogue has found his number from a velo standpoint.
I think what we had right there was the miscommunication on Scalise has already walked. It's all fastball count. Shouldn't have thrown that breaking ball.
Yeah, I'd be the first hitter to turn around and say, "Hey, wait a minute, what's going on?"
Yeah, that might have been what Scalise was turning back and say, "Hey, I'm in a fastball only count," and I think that was communicated from behind the backstop as well by the scouting staff back there.
And there's a ball sent out into left center field. That one's down. Going to chase home a couple of runs. Dominic Scalise made it worth his weight, providing a 2-run batted in sequence in a single.
That's the advantage of the all fastball count to the hitter. You know fastball's coming. You can time it.
So a couple of runners on. Jack McKinnon is our fifth batter this inning for this left-on-left matchup. Our runners are going to try and advance, and there was, I believe, a caught stealing. Capochi's been the ghost runner on multiple occasions.
He's staying
Looked
at
like
third,
our red team
so-
was going to the dugout.
Yeah, either Capochi has a difference of opinion, or he was indeed safe.
So both runners ended up moving and advancing 90 feet. And there's a wave and a miss by McKinnon. McKinnon out of Sarasota, Florida, Cardinal Mooney High School. Hogue trying to get that low strike, maybe missing just a little bit below the knees.
Yes, while I appreciate the aggressiveness of the ghost runners, stealing third base too often with a left-handed hitter up is probably not a good investment in
I
our
was thinking the same
analytics-based
thing.
game.
There's a risk reward there that's more risk than reward. How about McKinnon shooting one into left field? This is going to play 2 more runs. So McKinnon able to single between third and short and chase home a pair of runs. So back-to-back 2-run singles, first from Scalise and then from McKinnon.
Yeah, just going the other way with it. I have a couple check marks by McKinnon's name from batting practice yesterday, so he did something to impress me in BP and comes up with a nice at-bat there as well. And
So that is our fifth batter.
That was indeed our fifth batter.
So the Royal team chasing home 4 runs that inning for a 7-2 lead. So Hogue got the first out quickly. Then the infield single kind of set wheels in motion. A double by Picott. Scalise had the 2 RBI single. McKinnon did as well. And David, I think in a sense it was fighting that command just a bit that put him in fastball counts that changed his final few batters of his second inning.
I would tell Matt Hogue, don't even worry about that second inning. Nothing bad going on there at all. You're a young man. You've already proven with your comments you're very analytical. Yeah, just think about what you're doing in your delivery. Keep working hard. Keep thinking about it. Everything's going to be just fine.
New pitcher for the Royal team is Luke McNeely from Milton, Georgia. On to pitch here in the 5th inning.
McNeely, a very nice athlete, ran a 6.81 last night in the 60 to show his athleticism and a very talented arm on the mound. We saw him 2 weeks ago at the PG Southeast Memorial Day Classic here in Atlanta. He's pitching for the Georgia Bombers. And through 4 innings, 86 to 91 on the fastball, 75 curveball, struck out 5 in 4 innings of work. So young man with a live arm and very good overall athleticism.
From the Georgia Bombers, Marucci. And David, this young man has had an extremely challenging year. His mother passed away not that long ago, May the 16th, and he said she was his biggest fan. He wants to make sure going forward that he can play baseball as long as possible. So, certainly we send out our thoughts to Mr. McNeely and hope this summer treats him well. I know it'll be a different one to say the least.
Well, we will all be rooting for him. That's so unfortunate. And our thoughts are with the entire McNeely family.
Wesley Mendez is going to lead off against McNeely. McNeely, a Nathan Eovaldi fan. He's a Red Sox guy and likes watching Nathan Eovaldi when he gets a chance.
I believe Eovaldi threw like 6 shutout innings yesterday.
It's an Alvin, Texas native, same hometown that produced Mr. Nolan Ryan.
No, as we collect, I love hearing the names that players emulate. That's a new one. Nate Eovaldi.
Here's a chopper to third. That is a fair ball. Close play at first and safe is Mendez. So Mendez got down the line. We saw our third baseman drifting in foul territory. His glove, though, was in fair ground, trying to make that play and throw on the run.
Well, Wesley Mendez can do just about everything on the baseball field. He had a loud workout yesterday, and one of those things he did was run a 6.83. He's a primary left-handed pitcher, but an athlete and a solid runner, and he showed it there.
I believe that was Capochi at third base. Here is Tagger Tyson batting. He's had to wait 5 innings to get his chance, but here is Tyson from Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Swing and a miss on the fastball, and safe at second base is Mendez. There's that gator in that mask. I believe behind the plate this inning is Seth Christie, young man from D.C. Little different frame than maybe we've seen from some of the other catchers. And that one plunked Tyson.
First curveball we've seen from McNeely. Got away from him. Not completely unprecedented when you see a young man throw his first curveball in this environment that doesn't have the feel for the slot yet. Lets it get away from him. But now we'll be seeing all fastballs with runners on first and second.
Fastball there was fouled back from Tagger Tyson. The Red and Royal teams are 9th and 10th teams playing here this afternoon. The Vegas Gold and White clubs are 11th and 12th teams on our rosters. Will play after this 10-inning game. Tyson trying to fight off some fastballs. He knows they're coming just a little bit late.
Well, they're coming in at 89, 90 miles an hour.
That would make it late for me if I was up there in the box. Another pitch from McNeely. Fouled back again. So Tagger Tyson seen that fastball now at least on 3 straight pitches. Doing his best to try and time one up, put one in play for those 2 runners.
McNeely a little quicker to the plate than some of his predecessors, about 1.4 on average. Might give his catcher a little more opportunity to throw out a runner.
Fastball that rides down and in. That time Tyson would not pull the trigger. Second batter this inning, so McNeely's had to work after that infield single. The hit batter, the ghost runners and such. And now quite the battle between Tagger Tyson and McNeely.
And he's not missing by much with that fastball. A little up, a little down. His side-to-side command is fine.
Yeah, he's thrown several that have been in there, and Tyson's just put bat on ball. And again, that's a little bit of the benefit of knowing, again, what's coming. It only a fastball count after Tyson would have been on base in a true game situation. See who wins this one. And that's going to be deposited into right center field for a base hit. So Tyson will finally win it. A run's going to score. That was quite a job out at second base just to go around the baseball from Tyson.
We'll see.
He had to wait and let it go by his face.
Yeah, and most times in that, even if you're throwing 88-91 as McNeely is, most times you give the hitter at this level, if he knows he's going to get a fastball, you know, in that battle, the odds go to the hitter really. And you think, wow, is it that easy to hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball? Well, obviously it isn't. But if you know it's coming and you already have the talent level that these young men do, you're going to oftentimes be able to handle that 90-mile-an-hour fastball when you know it's coming.
So 1 run scored, couple of runners in scoring position. Miller Green has had to wait to get his chance. 53rd ranked prospect in this class. He's the last of our red hitters to cycle through this lineup. Miller Green out of Nashville, Tennessee, and Lipscomb Academy. That's another one chopped to third. There's going to be a play at the plate. Christie could not hold on, and sliding in was our ghost runner. Kind of a daring play there, and Christie went drifting across the plate area. So the run will score, and Green will reach on a fielder's choice. We're going to turn this lineup over here in the fifth inning for Cade Kurland, who led off the first by reaching on an error. Well-placed fastball there at the knees, outside corner.
Kurland, another young man who had a loud workout yesterday. 6'8" runner, 94 across the diamond in the infield, 95 exit velocity, loud, high number, tech cage, production. As befits somebody who is the 23rd ranked player in the 23 class.
Yeah, backing it up and then some over the course of these last couple of days. Offered it a high one. That one, I think, hit the shoulder or the back of McNeely. You see him walking towards first in a little bit of pain. You could hear the thwack, not only on contact, but that ball hitting McNeely.
And that ball was scalded, too. That didn't hit McNeely lightly. Let's see if we can see where it got him.
Oh, I think he got him on that glove arm or elbow.
Tried to bring the elbow back behind him. I think we're going to call the inning here.
That's the fourth batter. That's probably good, I would think.
Yep, that's what we're going to do, call the inning. I know that's what we'd be doing if I was behind home plate at a regional showcase. Give the young man a chance to go in and take stock. But yeah, I was hoping it did not hit his pitching arm. Not
Agreed.
That it hurts any less. But he tried to, make that spectacular play, throw the glove out behind you that you see sometimes, and make that spectacular blind play. And that's what happens if you don't get the glove there in time. You get it off your left arm, and that's got to sting.
About to go to the bottom of the fifth. You've seen a lot of runs, but not necessarily a lot of hits. Some of those runs have been our ghost runners, our free runners after what would have been ball four, or a hit batter when the batter has remained in the box. And then after running, maybe swiping some bases, scoring some runs. I would say the pitching has probably been more impressive than maybe that score might indicate if you're just tuning in. But we're going to get to see another new pitcher heading out to the mound, and that is Jackson Evers from Madison, Mississippi.
An Ole Miss commit, 6'4", 200 pounds. 16 years old. We haven't seen a lot of Jackson Evers, really, but we did. In fact, we haven't seen him since last September. He was 84 to 87 with a 77-mile-an-hour slider, 78-mile-an-hour change way back in last September at the Deep South Fall Elite Championships. But I'm sure we picked up more information on his high school season. But a big young right-hander, you can see that on the screen, with a quick arm. Ranked 233rd overall in the 2023 class.
It's a young man whose travel team is the SBG Sox Showcase Prime. High school coach Alan Pivette. You mentioned the Ole Miss commit. Chris Snopek is somebody he looks up to, a guy who played baseball at his high school. And another young man, David, dealing with just some personal tragedy. Certainly the greatest challenge he's had to overcome, the passing of his father, his late father, Charlie Evers. Lynn is his mom, and certainly wish him well on his baseball journey this year. Said he can dot up a breaking ball at any point in the count. And that's something, David, if that's even remotely accurate, that's going to impress me, because I know that sometimes it's that feel of the secondary pitch. We've seen a lot of good pitchers today that maybe at times have fought that breaking ball, curve, or slider. We'll see what Evers can do, and he's going to face Christopher Wally.
You're right. We definitely have not seen a dominant, well-controlled breaking ball yet. Not entirely unusual when you're talking about
True.
15 and 16-year-olds. As often, a 15, 16-year-old may not have even started throwing a breaking ball until the last year or two, depending on how he was raised as a pitcher.
That one sent out towards left field for the base hit from Wally. So listed as a pitcher, able to swing the bat and get himself a base hit.
Yeah, first pitch swinging, just nice and simple. Line it out to left field.
This is Parker Picott. So now we have turned the lineup over for the Royal team. He popped up to short to begin the bottom of the first inning for the Royal team. So getting his second AB, ranked 110th in the class. Facing Jackson Evers. That one rode way in, nearly clipped Parker, but just did miss. Spent a lot of time, did Evers, during the pandemic, lifting and throwing 5 days a week, working out in the garage when he had to. Did a lot of tee work in his front yard, also likes to swing the bat. Said the silver lining of anything, if there had to be a silver lining from the pandemic, was just focusing on strength and conditioning, and I think that's been a topic that I've hammered home a few times as well. Trying to find some positives, and got a couple of runners out there now after the single and the ghost runner. See what Parker Picott can do. Strong fastball in that outside corner that was fouled back. I think we saw Parker run at right around a 6.49, 6.5-ish yesterday.
6.49 to be exact.
There you go.
Your memory serves you well.
Well, he's going to wave and miss. That's a snap throw down to first. Runner is able to both scamper back. Our catcher here in the fifth inning, Troy Reeder, do believe. That ball is tagged, but it is going to drop in center field. You saw the big bounce go up into the Georgia sky. Everybody's going to move up.
That looked like one of those that goes right off the end of the bat, and everybody thinks it's ripped. I thought it was, but off the end of the bat, and the center fielder took a step backwards and just drops in front of him.
Felt like I was at Old Royal Stadium when that ball would hit the turf and bounce 20 feet in the air, but I think you're right. I think everybody thought that ball might have been tagged a little bit better than it dropped, and the bases are loaded, and this is just the third hitter. Francisco Capocci, we've seen him at third base be active today and also running. He's enjoyed putting on the helmet and being the ghost runner. He flied to right his only time in back in the first inning.
We just saw the first breaking ball from Jackson Evers. Drops it in for a strike just as he advertised.
He'd do it again?
He did it again. Figure that's his go-to pitch. He's got the bases loaded. That's a firm breaking ball, 78 miles an hour, so he's really doing a good job maintaining his arm speed. He's been 86, 87 exclusively with the fastball early, this Jackson Evers.
Bet he'd love to get a K here just to start accumulating some outs, and he does at the upper portion of the zone, if not even further north than that. But he gets the strikeout.
Yep, you've seen that break. You have that breaking ball on the same plane as that fastball coming in. The breaking balls have been dropping in. Then you throw that 87-mile-an-hour heater, and it doesn't drop. Hitter doesn't know that.
Same thing, David. That's a great point. You could just see those last two pitches for the hitter. They're both coming out at that same eye level, and one darted and one did not.
Yeah, and that's tunneling your pitches. Get them going down the same tunnel, the same release slot. Start them off in the same tunnel, and that's when you can get them moving in different directions, or in that case, riding. But I do like the velocity on that breaking ball. He's thrown it anywhere from 78 to 82.
Alan Ward is the hitter.
And boy, he's throwing it for strikes. He knows himself. Whether it's a confidence, whether it's just the feel for the pitch, he's landed 3 of the 4 of those breaking balls.
And it's fun when a self-scouting report, gives us maybe a little premonition. And David, he did it again.
He did it again.
That's fun. Maybe not for the hitter, but for those watching Evers today, rooting for this young man. He told us he could spot up the breaking ball, and my goodness, has he ever.
What were his exact words?
He can spot it up whenever he wants to.
So those words, okay, spot it up whenever he wants to. All right.
Here's Samuel Stafura, who grounded out to second in his previous at-bat in this game.
Okay, shall we ask the obvious question? Jackson, why can't you spot up your fastball? Which is an easier pitch to throw for strikes, by the way, in the rest of the world. There, he missed with one.
He finally missed.
Not that I was rooting for him to miss with one.
That was a little more of a slinging action coming out of his arm.
Yeah, just got a little early on the release.
Bases remain loaded. A couple of outs this inning. And that one is lifted into shallow right, and that ball is going to be caught. That ball didn't travel very well either, David. I'm not sure if maybe the wind was pushing it or not, but I think that was Brett House in right field making a nice play.
I think that's exactly what happened is the wind blew it in but where the ball ended up, that was the second baseman's ball. But we take another look at Jackson Evers here. Once he got into a count, once he got out of that fastball only count, was able to mix that spotted up breaking ball well. It's just not the command of it. I mean, he's throwing a hard slider there at 78-82 off a 86-87 fastball. So the hitters just really aren't seeing the difference in the pitches.
It was a fun first inning from Evers. And really, David, I think every pitcher we've seen today, for the most part, has given us something to focus on as a positive. Whether it's an increase in velocity, whether it's command of a second pitch, whether it's the ability to get some soft contact. We have seen a little bit of everything. We are going to see Gunther now in the sixth. So McNeely, who took that off a liner off the bat of Cade Curlin, off what we think is the back of the arm or the elbow of his glove hand, will go just the one inning, and Gunther comes on to pitch.
I hope it's nothing serious there, and as I said, very glad it's his off throwing arm for obvious reasons, but we will try to check on that if we can. While I learn what I can about Joshua Gunther. I do know Joshua Gunther can hit. He's a primary pitcher, but he took one of the top 10 loudest rounds of batting practice yesterday. Just really crushed the ball. I ask our scouts after each BP, okay, who stood out for you? And then read the BP blog, and Gunther definitely stood out, even though he is a primary pitcher.
He's a young man who goes by the nickname G-Unit. He's a right-handed pitcher but plays second base, first base when he's not pitching. SBG Sox Prime is the travel team with Chris Snowpack. His high school coach is Matt Limbaugh. Father played baseball at NC State, then played a year or two in the minors. Had an uncle that played at Ole Miss, and then went on to play 4 years of minor league baseball. So Gunther does come from quite the sports or baseball family.
We have not seen him in person since last fall at the Fall Gulf Coast Showcase, where he was 82-84 on the mound with a 71 curveball, but also graded out just as well as a power hitting corner infielder. So we've seen the power in the bat. We've seen up to 84. I'm sure we have some internal reports also on him as well from this spring.
Well, speaking of power, I've got to follow up on that, but